What is up? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Vanguard, Northeast Realty in Scarborough, Vanguard, NE.ca. I'm Norman James in London, Ontario, joined by my good friend Mike Augello from Buffalo, New York.
Good morning, Norman. I'm well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's been a while. 1 week? The OGs and the Converse getting hungry for more Convo, so let's give them what they want. Nice to see the Leafs and Marner have come together.
Well, this was a week, in spite of it being in mid-July. This was a eventful week in the Mitch Marner saga because a couple weeks ago it came, and I think we talked about it. It came out that there was one team out there that was prepared to make an offer sheet, and I think it was Elliot Friedman on his 31 Thoughts podcast, or just on Sportsnet. That it was actually on a radio spot that the Marner camp would not agree to it because the team wanted to sign him to a 7-year deal, and the Marner camp wants a much shorter contract. And the problem is that these teams that are signing offer sheets, they don't want a shorter contract if they have to risk 4 first-round picks. Now, it came out late this week that team was the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, there are supposedly other teams like the Islanders or whoever that looked in on Marner, but I think this is good news in an odd way, because the Marner camp from other teams is looking for an offer sheet that gets them closer to unrestricted free agency, which is 4 years away. They're not looking for a big mega deal. If it comes, and if somebody offers them Connor McDavid money on a 7-year deal, then I'm sure they'll agree to it. But I don't think anybody's doing that, because Marner is a winger and he's a great player, but he's not Connor McDavid, and he's not close to Connor McDavid. So there's an impasse here. Well, the Marner camp can't get the deal that they want from other teams. The only deal that they can probably get on offer sheets are 7-year max deals. The Leafs would love that, but Marner's camp probably wants around what Matthews and Tavares are making. So I think what we're going to see here is a staring contest for the rest of the summer, and then Marner agreeing to a deal before training camp. But I seriously doubt that there is going to be an offer sheet unless somebody gets desperate and says, okay, I'll give you a 4-year deal on an offer sheet. And then I think the Leafs will match, but it won't be the best situation for them.
I don't think Marner's season, if he misses time, will be impacted as negatively as it was for William Nylander. Mitch Marner is just a better hockey player. The way this is playing out, this could look worse for Marner and his camp than it did for Barry Gibb and his. So no, but what I'm saying though here is, with Mitch Marner being a winger, and at least on paper not as valued as Austin Matthews, it's going to be very hard for him to get the general public opinion to be favorable to what he and his camp are trying to do. I'd love to see a different outcome, and I'd like to see it be resolved relatively soon. The way we're going right now, it's not going to be the case. So they're just going to have to reap what they sow.
Well, let's just say that the Nylander situation I'm assuming is going to be a cautionary tale to the Marner camp, because if they try to sit out training camp and preseason games and then try to sign right before the regular season, Marner wants to sell himself in the Toronto market as the Toronto kid, as one of the best players in the league. I've heard some people say that Marner has the potential to be the best Toronto-born player to ever play for the Leafs in their history. And you can sell that. He's already doing advertising, things of that nature. That's all gone if there's a protracted situation.
No shit. Sometimes you wonder how deep thinking the fan base in this market really is. However, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say, look, we know what's happening. We know what's going on. The whole Marner from Toronto thing, it's passé. We get it. That doesn't apply to how things are going forward. And again, anybody who had a ton of goodwill can expend that goodwill as foolishly and expeditiously as they want. And that's what's happening with the Marner camp right now.
The Marner camp cannot go down that road for one simple reason. If you remember with the Nylander contract, they sign on December 1st. It's a 6-year deal. The cap hit now is $6.9 million, but that first year was prorated so that he could get $6.9 million and the signing bonus. But the contract in the first year was over $10 million. That was cap, but that, the money itself, what I believe was 6.9. The Leafs can't do that with Marner. If the Marner impasse goes into the season and he's signing a $10 or $11 million contract, the cap hit could be 13, 14. I don't know exactly. Cap Friendly probably will do something on that. But if that happens, they won't have the cap space. It will be impossible for them to do it. So that's why I'm saying, and Friedman said this, and he's told by general managers and other people in the hockey world that after Nylander did not do favors to these restricted free agents by playing badly last season in the second half. They will tell these players, if you don't sign something reasonable, sit out the season. We're not going to kowtow to you. We're not going to bend over because, what are we getting for the rest of the year? Are we getting half a player, 3/4 of a player?
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, that's what they should have done with William Nylander, and I know they learned their lesson. Hindsight is 20/20, but William Nylander had no impact on the Maple Leafs last season. None. Got his $10 million. None.
In fact,
the Nylanderites were excited because he got 3 points and he was the second best 5-on-5 player in the first round of the playoffs against the Bruins, right? I mean, for them, that was great, and that's what they're living off of right now on social media.
In fact, I think in some ways he was detrimental to the
there is no question. No question. He was. And I'm not saying William Nylander isn't a dynamo and that he can't have another 60-point season and be 80+ if he plays with Austin Matthews for every single effing minute this coming season. I'm not saying he can't do those things, but last season was terrible. And as much as I do believe Mitch Marner has just a better hockey player, and I think he's going to put the blinders on and just go to town, I don't know, come back in November and have a 45-point season, Mitch. That'll be fun for your overall stats. That'll be great for the team. It's going to look good on you, but you got paid or you made things worse. This is a tough one, Mike. I know we have a lot of converts and OGs who want to chime in. We appreciate the support on social media, guys. It means a lot to us. We'll start with a non-Leaf fan because I think it applies to what his question applies to what we're talking about right now. Bowberry Stan account. What the hell does that word Stan mean? I see that on Twitter all the time. Stan. Do you know what that means? Stan?
Unless it's Stanley. I don't know.
No, it doesn't. I think it's Stan.
Well,
or some
like
is it an imposter account or a fan account, Stan?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. Let us know. We're like Stadler and Waldorf. We don't know what's going on with the kids today. I'm genuinely curious as a non-Leafs fan. What is your personal breaking point where if you're Dubas, you take the compensation and the much hype Marner offer sheet hypothetical?
My personal breaking point in terms of salary for Marner is $1 more than Matthews. He cannot make more.
No doubt.
I personally think he cannot make more than John Tavares. You cannot pay. And I people say, well, the comparables Matthews, the comparables Tavares. No, the comparable are other wingers in the NHL, and the top salary now is Patrick Kane at $10.5 million, and then two of the best wingers in the league, Mark Stone and Nikita Kucherov, are making $9.5 million. And those and Stone signed his deal last year, April. So it's not like it's a deal in ancient history. So I think the comparables for Marner should be in the 9.5 to at most $10 million range on a long-term deal, but. I'm sure that Darren Ferris and Paul Marner are shooting the moon and they want to get 11, and I don't think they're going to get it, and they're going to either have to take less on a long-term deal or take a 2 or 3 year bridge deal.
The strategy here, Mike, is to what for Mitch? Get as much money as he possibly can, put himself in his best financial position as he possibly can leading up to when he can get the big payday at free agency. Do they want, and does Camp Marner want to be in Toronto long term, or are they simply out to get the most for Mitch as quickly as possible because he got 94 points last season. And again, he is revered for a lot of what he does on the ice and what he's expected to do.
I think the goal of the Marner camp is to make as much money as possible for as short a term as possible. And if they have to sign a long-term deal, that it's gonna be in the range of what Matthews and Tavares make. And I think that's the goal. And the thing is what is realistic, and that's the thing. I am coming of the opinion that the most realistic is the bridge deal, because as I said to you before we started recording, the NHL TV contract with the U.S. Networks is up in 2 years. There's expected to be, on top of the money coming in from Seattle, the expansion team, also the TV money, then there's expected to be a big jump in the cap. And at that point, then paying 3 players over $10 million wouldn't be crippling. But right now it is. So I think if they can get a bridge deal done, and I think that would be preferable for both sides, because Marner would get closer to unrestricted free agency, but the Leafs are not going to not walk him to the door and let him walk out the door.
I hate the salary cap. I remember when there wasn't a salary cap, Mike, and about 4 teams were able to spend all the money. I'd love for it to go back to those days. And I know there is not a movement, but I know there's a contingent of hockey fans who feel the same way. And dare to dream. Oh, Camp Marner, you keep shooting yourselves in the foot. He'll get paid one way or the other, and he'll probably get paid more than the kid really deserves. And us, OGs, converts, we love Mitch Marner, man. I think the world of him as a player and as an individual, but his posse and his hangers-on and his advisors, they can all go to, Eddie Berla wants to know predictions from us, years, dollars, whether Marner ends up on a different team. Ed, we've talked about it for the last, 10, 15 minutes. Hard to say right now, my man. There are just too many irons in the fire, too many ways this thing can go. It really is difficult to predict at this point. RJR, can we talk about depth charts, and what if Marner doesn't sign until time Nylander's sign next year? I think we addressed that as well. Mike, anything to add there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of the depth chart on the right side, if Marner doesn't sign, everybody obviously moves up. You have Nylander, you have Kapanen. I think that more than likely the guy who would benefit from a Marner year holdout, which is a disaster scenario, would be Jeremy Bracco, because I think Jeremy Bracco would be in the top 9 of the Leafs. He was second in the AHL in scoring last year, and I think he would be the perfect winger for Austin Matthews, not Nylander, but Bracco, because Bracco is a great playmaker, great passer. And I'm not saying Nylander isn't, but I think you'd have to spread out your offense a little more, and putting 2 of your big guns, Nylander and Matthews, on one line, I think probably would not. I don't think it would. It would be it would be closer to what Colorado does with Rantanen and Landeskog and McKinnon. I think you'd have to spread out your offense a little more. And a guy like Bracco, who was with the Marlies last year, I think could step up. But if Marner does sign, I think he's probably going to end up in the American Hockey League again this year.
The idea of Jeremy Bracco getting an opportunity in the NHL is really exciting for me. And I'd hate Mitch Marner to be either sitting out or gone, or, I don't know, hanging out at Darren Ferris's pool, sucking back Shirley Temples while the Leafs play because he's pissed off he's not getting his money. That sucks. But Bracco getting this opportunity, the guy has to get a chance somewhere. We will have to wonder where that's going to be, and if through an unfortunate situation, Bracco is able to not only get opportunity but emerge, then if that's one avenue going forward, we'll have to deal with it. And I probably I can almost guarantee we'll be excited about the outcome.
Well, I think one thing that was interesting with all the talk about Marner the last few days was the tweet that Aaron Portzline from The Athletic, who's been following the Blue Jackets for years, the belief was that the Leafs are going to match any offer sheet that is put out there, even to the point that if it was a larger offer sheet, that they would move William Nylander to open space. Now, I'm not saying that we'll give him away for nothing. They would obviously get future assets back for him in that type of deal. I'm not 100% convinced of that, but if they did do that, either this summer or next summer, after Marner signs a contract, Jeremy Bracco has options. He can go back to the American Hockey League. It's curious that of all the moves that they did and a lot of trades that they were making, like the Marlowe deal or the deal that traded Zaitsev to Ottawa, they didn't include Bracco as a sweetener. And why? Because he's on a cheap contract. He's on his entry-level deal. He's 21 going on 22 years old. And while he's inexpensive, and while he's improving, he's not a perfect player. He needs to upgrade his defensive play. He's a good option for them. So they're keeping their powder dry. They're keeping their options open. And maybe down the line, somebody gets traded. It could be Bracco. It could be Nylander.
OG's Conference, who'd you rather be traded? Number 29 or Jeremy Bracco? Have at it. Let us know. This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Vanguard Northeast Realty in Scarborough, vanguardne.ca. Neb at Western Neb, thank you very much for sending along the screen grabs of Cap Friendly, breaking down what the Maple Leafs cap situation is right now. Projected cap space, $3,765,000 and change. Today's cap hit $77,734,699.42, counting every single penny he can as we go forward here. Robert James, looking forward to the new Convo. Sorry we're not doing it more often, Robert, but life gets in the way. We have to make money and do other things, but the Convo will live on forever. Rate this year's D compared to last. I'm having trouble getting enthusiastic about them. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's room for enthusiasm here with this Leafs team, man. If they all grow up and play like professionals who want to win a damn championship, there's a lot of enthusiasm to be had out there. I'm enthusiastic about seeing new stuff, Mike.
Yeah,
new guys, new players.
I'm bullish on the top four because it's an actual top four because it's a left-right breakdown, and I think Tyson Barrie is a better overall defenseman than Jake Gardiner. Now he's similar in terms of he jumps into the play and he's an offenseman more than a defenseman, but he picks his spots. And it was the whole thing with Gardiner. The scar tissue was there, and I think the team needed to move on. And I know there are some people out there, since he hasn't been signed yet, that are dreaming of scenarios of him coming back. Unless he's taking $1 million a year for a year, he's not coming back. So that you can end that speculation. But Barrie paired with Jake Muzzin, I think will be a good second pairing. It sounds like what they may go with is Cody Ceci playing on the right side with Morgan Riley. I know the analytics people really can't stand Cody Ceci, which makes me hope that he plays well this year. But they're all of their criticisms are based on numbers, and his numbers in Ottawa weren't great. Well, Ottawa wasn't great, so I don't know if that's an accurate indicator. I'm going to watch him in the preseason and watch him early in the regular season to see what he provides, and if he plays well, then I guess it's a good trade, and if he doesn't, then I guess they're right.
The analytics crowd, I love them to death, but they tweet, they type, they talk to hear themselves talk. I mean, what have they predicted? What have they told us that is so effing important in our lives and that has actually come to pass, other than looking back on particulars, trying to stress the excellence of William Nylander and devalue his rival on the team, Mitch Marner. Just keep doing what you do, guys. Start predicting winners and champions, and I'll get on board. Dude Blaine, I think the goal song the Leafs should use is the drum beat followed by singing in the Air Tonight by Phil Collins in Genesis. Dude Blaine, Phil Collins is God. Genesis is God. But Hall & Oates, that goal song, for as tacky and corny as it is, I'm down with Hall & Oates, man. I know most people hate it, but I think it's unique and I think it's fun. Just keep Hall & Oates, keep it rolling.
Yeah,
I'm down with it. But I'm sure they'll change it to something, I don't know, Captain and Tennille.
it got beaten into the ground. It was after a while. I mean, I was
Oh,
at a
yeah.
lot of games last year, and after a while, you really got tired of hearing Hall and Oates. It really got annoying. But let me just touch one more thing on the previous question. The
Yeah.
concern area that I do have with the Leafs defense still is the bottom pairing, because right now, with Travis Dermott out to start the season, you're talking of a hodgepodge of Martin Marincin, Justin Hall, Kevin Gravel,
Wow.
Ben
Yeah.
Harper. I mean, if and it doesn't sound like that they're, unless they stand on their head, that they're going to put Liljegren or Sandin into the NHL and start the clock on their contracts. They're probably going to let them play in the American Hockey League another year, or at least until January. So you're talking the first, and we know that, the early in the season, teams will play more fast and loose, so the Leafs might be able to cover up for some defensive inabilities with their offense. But still, if you're playing Ben Harper and Justin Hall on your bottom pairing, that's not a great scenario. So if they go out, and they're probably not going to go out and sign any more free agents until the Marner
Yeah.
situation is taken care of. But there are some veteran defensemen out there that may be willing to take PTOs on the promise that, they get a contract once training camp starts and once Marner is signed. That, Dan Girardi is one guy. I think he probably is going to end up getting a contract from somebody, but if he wants to play, I think he's from Welland, Ontario. If he wants to play for the Leafs and cap out his career with a Stanley Cup in blue and white, maybe that's enough to draw him to Toronto like it drew Jason Spezza.
Dude, you're part of the greater Buffalo Welland binational metroplex down there. You should know that. Dan Girardi's a local hero.
The Buffalo
OG's converts. Open up a map. Check it out.
The Buffalo Welland metroplex. I'll have to look that one up, Norm.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. If Ben Harper and Martin Marincin and Justin Hall are part of your defensive core, you might want to win a Stanley Cup, but you're not as close as you think. These guys have to be just temporary placeholders. And Kyle Dubas has to know that. When I hear these names, and again, it's not as if there's a petri dish of defensive talent just waiting to be picked up by the Maple Leafs, and trading William Nylander's is easy, and Mitch Marner's deal is done. I get that. But good God. I mean, these guys should be playing for the Tillsonburg Vipers, not the Maple Leafs. And the Tillsonburg Vipers don't even exist anymore. So you know what I'm getting at here.
Right. Well, it may open the door for other guys. Andreas Borgman, he could step in. He didn't play badly when he played for the Leafs for a half season a couple years ago. And I can't remember his first. I think it's Teemu Kevähelmi, the Finnish import that they brought in, another European free agent. There are some who believe that he's capable of maybe playing in the NHL. Though the opportunity will be given, but I do think with enough veteran, and there are I'd say at least a dozen veteran defensemen out there that have not been signed, but it is July 14th. So probably before the middle of August, a few more of them will be gobbled up on free agent contracts. But from that point on, these veterans will be looking for a home where they can at least have a tryout to try to make a team. And if it isn't the Leafs, it's somebody else. So if the Leafs will provide opportunity, and they'll get some visibility playing preseason games in Toronto, and maybe they get signed by the Leafs, or maybe they get signed by somebody else. But there will be players
Sure.
that they do bring in.
Yeah, Mike, for me, the thing is, it's the path forward. What is the path forward? What is the path towards getting through this first round, second round, and winning Stanley Cups? Is there any path forward until this obstruction that is the Mitch Marner fiasco gets resolved?
No, there isn't. I mean, until Marner gets signed right now, and obviously we're in the middle of the summer, and no games are going to be played, and rookie camp will be in Traverse City, Michigan this year in mid-September, and then they're going to St. John's, Newfoundland for training camp. I mean, really, getting Marner under contract is the next big step, and then after that, then I think the attention swings back on Babcock and his ability to get this team playing the way they need to play and having success. And my friend Steve Dangle on one of the radio shows he's doing on Fan 590 in Toronto said if this team doesn't look like they can win a first round, he doesn't doubt the fact that Babcock can get fired in December. And I don't doubt that. I think that is a possibility if Dubas is not convinced that this team is going in the right direction, or if Babcock decides he's still not going to play Justin Hall or Nick Batan or some of the guys that the organization brought in. If there's a philosophical difference, then there's a possibility that they'll say thanks but no thanks, Mike, and we'll go with Sheldon Keefe and go that way. And I don't agree with it. I think they should give Babcock the year, and I think they should give Babcock the players that he thinks that he needs to win. But if he's playing with players that he doesn't think fit, then you're really sort of doing him a disservice.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Are Babcock and Dubas on the same page? And are there any players out there beyond who's on the roster right now who can get this team to the second round, third round? Are there players out there the Leafs should have right now that they don't have and can get, or would be willing to get, or would have the guts to get, Mike? I think we have to find that out. With Babcock, I mean, he's going to be the guy to blame because he's older. He's an adult. So when he's fired, then who's to blame? Who's the next one to blame? John Tavares, he's the next one now. And then after that, who would it be? Morgan Riley? Because they're not the stat darlings. So there's going to be someone else to blame. It will never be where the blame really needs to be placed. Do what it takes to win championships. Stop doing what it takes to make yourself and your contingent feel good about itself. I'm telling you, Mike, this whole idea that Babcock is going to be fired and Sheldon Keefe's going to come in with the same group of guys and that's going to do anything different, guess what? Your competition will still be as good as you and bigger and badder and want it more than you. Sheldon Keefe is not going to change that. Last word.
Well, I think the challenge for the Leafs, and we're going to look at this as the season gets closer, is their division has gotten better. Florida has gotten better. Montreal is getting better. Buffalo is improved. So, on top of Tampa being one of the best teams in the league and Boston going to the Stanley Cup final. So it's not a foregone conclusion this team is going to be in the top three in the Atlantic. They've made changes. I think they're a better team. They've got to get the Marner situation resolved, but I still think that there's areas for improvement, and I think Dubas recognizes that, and, we'll see what happens.
Michael, it's been a blast. Let's not wait a week to do our next Leafs Convo. Then again, sometimes it's not up to us. Have a good one.
Thanks, Norm.
We would like to thank Vanguard Northeast Realty in Scarborough, title sponsor of the Leafs Convo, demonstrating passion for the industry and a superior level of excellence in selling, leasing, and marketing your property. Vanguard Northeast Realty.